Alright, so a lot of us these days, we feel like zombies on the morning. So we like to have some coffee. You know, it's brilliant. It helps us get through the day and stops us feeling like a zombie. But does it actually help you, say, perform better on an exercise bike? Or, you know, run better? Or faster? Or can it make you feel really, really good at the gym? Well, let's find out. Alright guys, so caffeine can be used for a lot of things, like I've mentioned in the intro, such as, you know, if you want to go to work, you want to get up on a morning, you don't want to feel really crap, you don't want to feel fatigued, all that good stuff. But we're going to find out whether it actually is worth having it before exercise. So to do this, we need to understand how caffeine works in our bloodstream when we're going to engage in exercise. So if you haven't already watched my video on how caffeine works, or what is caffeine, and you haven't watched my video on cortisol, I recommend you do that. I'll have them both linked in the description, because them videos are going to be what you need to watch first. So it's sort of like a part 1 and part 2, and that's how you'll understand the negative effects of too much caffeine, because it can really do some bad things to you if you have too much coffee, for example. But if you get the right amount and you get a good healthy amount, can this actually help you perform better? That's the question that's been tossed around quite a lot. So, like I say, we need to understand how caffeine works. So, caffeine is rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, and blood levels peak around after, say, 90 to 100 minutes. That's like an hour and a half to an hour and a half basically. And caffeine levels remain high for 3 to 4 hours afterwards, and then they gradually start to They start to drop. But unlike most substances, I don't know what it is, but I just cannot speak to it either. It's just one of them things, I suppose. Caffeine can affect cells throughout the body, including things like, you know, muscle cells and brain cells. For this reason, caffeine's effects on the body are quite varied, and these include your nervous system. So caffeine activates area of your brain and nervous system to improve focus and energy. And when I get further down in the video, I'll be explaining things such as the nervous system, how it can improve your mental state. So it's little things like that. It can increase fat burning as well, stuff like caffeine. But that's just a little overall recap on what it can do, because it can do a lot more than that. You believe you and me. But let's have a look at caffeine and long endurance exercises. So say like a marathon, for example. So the research is still ongoing with the use of caffeine, you know, for stuff like that. But if we have a look first of all at strength-based exercises, so that's things such as if you go into the gym and you're training for strength, that type of thing. Can it actually help you with weights? Can it help you improve you know, how many reps you can do? Can it improve your strength? So although there's been several studies done with this one as well, it's been found to have a positive effect. The evidence also, it's not quite conclusive. You know, it's not like set in stone. So for every good example, there's always a bad example. However, one study has been highlighted, and it's found that caffeine has a positive effect on a bench press. So if you're doing a bench press, sure, you should know what a bench press is. But if you don't, that's fine. Bench press is basically where you're lying down and you push your weight up like this, obviously with a barbell. There's loads of different variations you can use as well, but the most popular one is with a barbell. I mean, you can do it with dumbbells as well, but of course it's all down to preference as well. I personally do it with dumbbells because I find I can get a lot more range of motion. You're a lot more free to do what you want instead of being limited to, you know, just having your hand like that. You know, you get a better range, I think. But yeah, basically, for the bench press and for lower body strength or cycling sprints. So say if you were to do something like a HIIT with cycling, so that's like, say, do 30 seconds, you know, going as fast as you can on the exercise bike, then 30 seconds rest, and then you repeat that for, say, 5 minutes. That would be that type of like a sprint. Yeah, so these two things have been found to really like be highlighted because these can actually be improved with the effects of caffeine. So ideally, if upper body and lower body can both be found to have effects, then I would have said that there's a lot more that can be. And one thing is, you should try this yourself if that's the case. See how many you can do. I don't know, say it doesn't have to be a bench press, it could be a shoulder press or something that you're sort of maybe even struggling with a little bit. Give it a go and it might actually help you out there. So that's something to test out. So before and after caffeine, you know, and then obviously you take the results because they're the results that you get. Because there's still a lot of studies going on with a lot of different exercises and a lot of different techniques, etc., etc. But there was also a comparison of 27 studies found that caffeine improves leg muscle power by up to 7%, but it has no effects on smaller muscle groups. So obviously your legs have got a lot of muscles in. I mean, your quads, for example, have got 4 muscles in them. You know, your hamstrings have got a few muscles in. So it's things like this, because obviously they're larger muscles as well. It does have an effect on them by up to 7%. That's just your legs. So obviously your bis and tris, I suppose it could work with them as well if you give it a go. You know, you might even be able to lift more. You know, 60 minutes after you've had, say, a cup of coffee, you go to the gym, you might be able to do more. Again, I think it's all up to preference. It's all up to mental state as well, and also, you know, if your body's insensitive to caffeine or it's intolerant, then I wouldn't recommend doing it at all. Find a caffeine substitute, if possible. But basically, in a nutshell, caffeine may also improve your muscular endurance, including the amount of repetitions performed in a certain way. So if you want to try this yourself, go for it. If you're a gym rat, give it a go, and it might actually be beneficial for you. But remember, don't go overboard with coffee. You shouldn't be having more than 3 cups of coffee a day, unless you can start to go into uncharted territory then, and you start to feel the effects. So if we move into high intensity, let's have a look at high intensity. So the evidence about the effects of caffeine on high intensity exercises. So that's things such as a sprint. So see if you're doing a 400 meter sprint, things like that, high intensity, you know, because you've got to do a sprint, so you're going out full max, you know, for the full range. So something like this, it's actually got impressive benefits for trained athletes, but it seems to have less effects on beginners or for people who are, say, intermediate. So say if this is your first ever time training for like a sprint, or you don't really do it that often, you just do it occasionally now and again. It's sort of like a little hobby, you know. You're not sort of like a die-hard person who loves to go running, or you don't do it because you're training for something or anything like that. You just do it now and again, just when you've got a bit of free time or when you feel like, you know, you might be a bit stressed. So you don't necessarily take it to heart. It doesn't necessarily say that you can't get any effects from it. It just says that essentially you're more than likely not going to if you've just started, because your body's getting used to it itself. So your body needs to get used to doing it without caffeine towards doing it with caffeine, you know. However, 2 studies of recreational men, so that's basically men who well, they don't really train that much, but they do it now and again. And doing bike sprints found no difference between the effects of caffeine and water. So, again, caffeine can dehydrate you a little bit. So can tea. Tea can dehydrate you quite a bit. So, as long as you drink plenty of water in between the time that you've had the caffeine, so say a cup of coffee, and when you've had that glass of water, and before you go to the gym, if you have a glass of water or something in between that, and make sure that you keep yourself hydrated when you go on a run as well, especially if you're covering a lot of distance, which a lot of people do. A lot of people can run for a long time, believe you and me. But if you do want to try this, there's nothing stopping you at all. And if you feel a benefit from it, then keep doing it. Just don't go overboard with it, is what I'd recommend. So, in a nutshell, for high intensity exercise, again, it's hit and miss because there's not a lot of studies being done. But if you're somebody who goes running quite a bit, you will feel effects of it, and you might even shave a couple of seconds off your time, maybe even a minute or a couple of minutes. So yeah, give it a go, and it's going to benefit you either way, regardless whether you start or you haven't. But again, it's down to the individual. Some people will feel effects, some people won't, and again, just give it a go. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, that's just unlucky. But just keep trying. So now we look at endurance. So that's what I was going to do at the beginning, but I couldn't think of it at the time, and so I just went on to strength training. So yeah, endurance. So endurance would be something like a marathon, because you've got to keep running and running. So where was that? So yeah, one study found that 9.8 milligrams of caffeine, or about 400 milligrams in total of caffeine, increased endurance in athletes. But again, what I'm saying is, for people who train quite a bit, it's going to benefit them. For people who are just starting out or don't really train that often, it's not necessarily going to work as well as it would for somebody who's already trained, because it's giving them an extra boost, an extra stimulant. So again, it's hit and miss, and I would go into studies that's been done to it, research that I've uncovered. But with all three of these different things, a lot of it, because there's no conclusive evidence to say that if you are just starting out that you can't feel benefit, and there's nothing saying that you will, so it would be hit and miss. But because we've got evidence and studies done in terms of exercise that can be done, and because we've got conclusive evidence of people who've trained, if you keep training, you could introduce yourself to it slowly. It's something I'm thinking. So say if you've done it for a couple of months, for example, or you've done it for 6 weeks, you may be able to get away with start having caffeine, whether it's them caffeine pouches, supplements, or whether it's good old coffee. Even tea has caffeine in, but it's about how much caffeine you're getting. And if you watch my caffeine video, I will be able to tell you all you need to know about caffeine and how much is in what. But I do hope that's a fly, not a wasp, because I'm not a big fan of wasps. Yeah, so that's what it comes down to in terms of exercise. If you want to try it. If you don't feel effects, and you're just an intermediate, try doing a little bit more, and then build up to it slowly. So have 1 cup of coffee a day, or do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to say that you've got to have 3 cups of coffee, but to keep it healthy and a good guideline, 3 cups of coffee a day is beneficial. But moving on, let's move into the benefit. I say benefits, more like facts, and positive outcomes that you can get from having caffeine for exercise. So first one is accelerated fat loss. Now, fat loss is one of them things that people will look around and say, yeah, that's what I want, that's what I need. And they don't quite understand that just cutting fat isn't necessarily going to make you lose weight, because there's other variables involved. So there's things such as how many carbohydrates you get in your diet. There's things such as sugar as well, because sugar turns to fat. If you have too many calories, it can turn to fat. It's a vicious cycle, and again, I've explained it in why low-fat diets don't work, and the importance of fat in your diet, because you do need fat in your diet, but it's all about how much you get, because you can't have certain vitamins, or they can't be absorbed in your body if you don't have fat in your diet. But if you're on one of these low-fat diets, chances are you're getting more sugar or more salt in your diet, which is either A, going to turn to fat anyway if it's too much sugar, or if it's salt, and your chances are you're going to have high blood pressure, and you could even have a heart attack or a stroke. So, you know, it's a very, very bad cycle, and things like Weight Watchers and the Slimming World and all that, in my eyes, just do not work. And there's studies in fact showing that they don't actually work in terms of the long run. And yeah, again, that's for another video. But yeah, it can accelerate fat loss. This is caffeine itself. It can increase your metabolism. So when you're basically at the gym, if you have a cup of coffee beforehand, it's got fat burning properties. So coffee, when consumed before exercise, can cause fat cells to be used as energy, as opposed to glycogen. So again, it's using fat cells instead of glycogen, which is good because it's going to stop you going catabolic. Because obviously muscle glycogen is really bad to be getting used. And it's sort of how I base my diet out, by having a sort of a high fat and high protein diet, and obviously carb cycle in between. So I have, like, say, every 3, 5 or 7 days have high carbohydrates to get the glycogen in the muscles so that they don't go catabolic. And it works for me. You know, I've lost weight, and all the weight I wanted to lose anyway. And it's made me a better person in terms of how I think and how I feel. And I've just got loads and loads of energy. I can just run and run and run. You know, when I go to the gym, I can smash a workout out. But yeah, it can increase your metabolism. So there's one good property of it. So the second one is increased performance. So studies have demonstrated a link between caffeine before exercise and increased athletic performance. So again, that's more like a running type of thing. But like I say, for anything, if you want to try it, try it. So it's sort of hit and miss. I wouldn't say it's more of a fact. It's more of a, if you feel it, then it's going to be a fact. It's either a good thing or a bad thing. So another thing is focus. It's going to help you focus more. It's going to keep you active, and it's going to help you remember things more. It can even improve your circulation and decrease muscle pain as well, which is really, really good. In fact, if you ask me, having caffeine before the gym is something you need to try. And if you don't feel effects of it, then that's fair enough. Maybe give it another shot. You know, it might not just be a one-hit wonder. But if you have caffeine and over time you feel really good, then it's a win-win, because you found a little extra 5 or 10%. And drinking water as well will give you an extra, while you're at the gym, will actually give you an extra boost as well, because obviously your body's made up of water, or at least a certain percent of it's made up of water. So if you're giving it more water, obviously don't go overboard and don't drink, like, you know, a full 2 litre bottle at the gym. Drink it in stages. You know, have a little bit after a set, or, you know, drink a little mouthful after halfway through your exercise, or when you feel a little bit dehydrated. I'm not saying bring a cup of coffee into the gym or a cup of tea. I wouldn't really recommend that, because it's going to dehydrate you. So it's before the gym, so about 35 to 60 minutes before you go to the gym, you want to be having some caffeine for this to work, because obviously the effects of it start to kick in then. But another one is more muscle fuel. So it's going to give your muscles better fuel. So again, it's sort of like what I was saying a little bit earlier, in terms of it changes the way your body burns fat. and it changes the way your body, reacts to your workout. Which, I think it's just one of these things you've just got to try. You really have. And finally, link it in with fat loss. Caffeine is a common ingredient in weight loss supplements. And early research has shown that taking caffeine before exercise increases the release of fat storage by about 30%, which is that's a big amount considering the amount of fat you would normally burn going to a gym. So again, caffeine. Why have a fat loss supplement when you can have caffeine, and that will help boost your metabolism? Another thing is things like spicy food as well. That will help to boost your metabolism. But it usually is pretty salty because of the spices in it. So you need to be careful with that. It's sort of like a 6 and 2 3s kind of situation. If you get too much salt in your diet, you're gonna end up having high blood pressure. But yeah, it is honestly, there's so much you can talk about with that. I could refill a video for over an hour, talking about how to have it before you exercise and stuff like that. But I'm gonna throw an extra one in, and hot chocolate after a gym or after a workout or running or any exercise is actually really good to have, because it's got fast release sugar in, and it helps to get into your glycogen, and it helps to stop you going catabolic. And things like a banana as well. A banana is really good for after the gym because of the fast releasing carbohydrates and fast release sugars in it. So yeah, that's another thing to take into consideration. And basically, to sum this video up, if you go and exercise before it will benefit you, or it may not. It depends on not only the individual, it also includes how much exercise you do and how trained you are, your fitness level. So if you take like these 3 things for example into account, there's your fitness level, there's what exercises you're actually doing, and there's how much you actually have, how much caffeine you take in, and a lot of other factors including that will determine whether it's actually good enough for you to have. So taking 200 to 600 milligrams of caffeine, which is around about 0.2 grams, is 0.2 milligram. 200 milligrams is 0.2 grams of caffeine, and 400 milligrams is 0.4. So that's roughly about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of coffee. If you like a little bit stronger, that's by all means you go for that. But in terms of getting a nice amount, it's good to go for 200 to 400 milligrams, or 0.2 to 0.4 grams of caffeine. But yeah, it will maximise your effects if you do it right. But a lot of it may not. Again, it's down to the individual, and that's a shame really. But it's a lot of things. Some people can absolutely smash the bench press. Some people can't. A lot of it's down to what you're good at and what you're not good at. And also your body may take time to get used to the effects of caffeine. But yeah, if I'm going to sum this video up, if you're going to try it, make sure you do understand the effects of caffeine if you have too much, because some people may get a little bit too excited, let's say, and may have too much caffeine, and then they feel negative effects simply because of the fact that they're getting too much, and the cortisol and the adrenal glands are being fatigued. So if you watch the videos, that's going to be in the description, which is going to be cortisol, and it's going to be what is caffeine. You watch them two, and then you watch this one, a lot of it will make sense. But yeah, that's me done for today, and to stop the video being 25 minutes, I'm going to cut it now. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.